My name's Terry Townshend and I'm a fellow and advisor at the Paulson Institute. In particular, have responsibility to support the conservation programme. Well, I think the Paulson Institute has a long history in supporting wetland conservation in China, and I would select a few highlights. The first is the Blueprint of Coastal Wetland Conservation and Management in China. So this was a major report, a partnership between the Paulson Institute and the Chinese Academy of Sciences, supported by the Liaoning Foundation and the He Foundation, two big Chinese philanthropic foundations. And this report took a hard-nosed economic analysis of the value of coastal wetland ecosystems. So at the time of this project, coastal wetlands were being reclaimed at an alarming rate along China's coast. The incentive was to sell this very valuable agricultural land close to cities and reclaim land from the ocean by claiming coastal wetlands. And this was making local governments a lot of money. But at the same time, this was ignoring the value of coastal wetlands. So it was ignoring the value of the services provided by coastal wetlands. So it looked at the value in terms of local livelihoods. So a lot of local people harvest shellfish or fishing. They looked at the value of these coastal wetlands as fish nurseries. So helping to provide the stocks of fish that were caught not only locally but also throughout the Yellow Sea area. Looking also at the carbon sequestration, so how the carbon that's stored in coastal wetlands and coastal mudflats through the seagrasses and other ways of storing carbon. Water purification. These coastal wetlands also help to filter water and help to purify it. And of course they also provide key habitats for a lot of biodiversity, including the millions of migratory birds across 22 countries of East Asia, Australasia. And there's no doubt that this work helped to contribute to a major policy change in China. So in 2018, the Chinese government announced a ban on further wetland reclamation along China's coast, and also committed to protect the remaining coastal wetlands and manage them sustainably. And so now, two of the most important coastal wetlands have been inscribed on the list of World Heritage Sites. That happened in 2019, and there are plans to add inscribe more sites to this list in the next year or two. The second highlight I would point to is related to mangroves. So in 2018, the Paulson Institute, in partnership with the Liaoning Foundation and the Mangrove Conservation Foundation, launched a project to look at the status of China's mangroves, to look at their value, the value that they provide, the ecosystem services, the threats that they're facing, and to make recommendations about policy change that would help to protect and restore mangroves. And again, this report played a key role in informing China's ambitious action plan for mangrove conservation and restoration. And today, mangroves in China are increasing. It's about the only country in the world where mangroves are increasing. The third highlight I would point to is the Liaoning protected area, which is a coastal wetland in Hebei province, so not far from Beijing. Now, I vividly remember my first visit to this area in August 2011, and I was excited to read about these scientific reports from a Chinese researcher about the numbers of migratory shorebirds that she had been seeing at this site on the Hebei coast. And after speaking with her, she gave me directions of how to get there. I rented a car, drove there myself, and I was overwhelmed by what I found when I arrived. The sheer numbers of shorebirds using the mudflats here at Liaoning. There were tens of thousands of birds that greeted me on my arrival. And it was immediately obvious that this place was special and very important for migratory shorebirds along the East Asian Australasian flyway. And at the heart of the flyway is the Yellow Sea and the Bohai Bay in China, which is a vital service station for an estimated 50 million water birds of 240 species, and 22 of those are classified as globally threatened by extinction by the IUCN Red List. And up to 70% of the Yellow Sea's coastal mudflats have been lost to development in the last few decades. So the importance of this site in Liaoning in Hebei province could not be overstated. And it was the work of those scientists, early scientists, that put this area onto the map, highlighting the importance of this site to migratory shorebirds. And they'd used colour tagging by fitting little coloured flags to shorebirds in Australia and New Zealand, and then coming to the coast in Hebei province and seeing all these shorebirds with the flags that they put on in Australia and New Zealand, so they could really connect this specific site with the birds that are spending the non-breeding season in the southern hemisphere. Perhaps the most important moment in protecting this site was in 2016, when the governor of Hebei province participated in an event that was co-organised by the Paulson Institute in Beidaihe, which is a town in Hebei on the coast, close to this site at Luanan. At that meeting, after hearing about how important this site is to migratory shorebirds, the governor committed in 2016 to take forward the establishment of a protected area at Luanan. And it's not only a protected area, it is due to be on the list for nomination as a World Heritage Site as part of the broader Yellow Sea World Heritage serial nomination for migratory shorebirds. That's a real success story in terms of going from using the science to understand the movements of birds, linking it to migratory shorebirds along the flyway, raising awareness, getting to the right level of people, then making commitments to protect it, and then that finally going through the whole process to become an official protected area and to make it onto the list of sites to be nominated for the World Heritage inscription. And the last highlight that I would point to is a really important area that's not necessarily given as much attention, but that's on the training and capacity building side. In total, 138 officials from 11 coastal provinces who are involved in policy or wetland management of specific sites have been trained on the importance of wetland and water birds, wetland management principles and techniques, wetland restoration principles and techniques, education for sustainable development, and nature appreciation programs. So this has been bringing in international experts to give best practice from overseas, and also creating a network, a coastal wetland conservation network. So bringing together officials and wetland site managers from all of China's coastal provinces to provide a platform to share information, share experiences, learn from each other, and to hear best practice from overseas. And I think that has had also a major impact in raising the profile of wetlands, and also raising the level of professionalism among coastal wetland managers in China.